Hey guys, Max here, and welcome to the first video of a new series where I will be exploring endgames with you. To start off, we have the most simple endgame, a king and a queen versus a lone enemy king. The general strategy here is to use the king and queen together to try and cut off all the escape squares for the enemy king, although, if this seems too complicated for you, I have an additional strategy that's easier to understand coming up at the end of the video, so stay tuned to find out. Alright, white starts with queen to a5, cutting off the enemy king's escape along the 5th rank, driving them downwards towards the edge of the board, the only place that a mating net can properly be made. Good moves are also queen to f6, queen to c3, or queen to d1, although as a general rule, faster mate is achieved when you can use your king to constrict enemy squares. Following queen to a5, we have king to d4, king to g2, king to e4. Black is moving between these two central squares to try and keep as close to the center as possible, because, as we've already covered, a mating net can only be made on the edge of the board, and in the center of the board, the black king will be safe from any mating threats. Queen to c5, cutting off any of black's escapes, and king to f4. If black opts for king to d3, we have the mating sequence that we'll find recurs in this video a lot, of king to f3, king to d2, queen to c4, blocking off black's route. Black's only available move is down onto the edge of the board, king to d1, king to e3, and this position, with the queen and king blocking off every escape move of the enemy king except for the one that is in direct opposition of the king. This is one we'll see often. King to e1, and then we'll follow mate, either on c1 or e2. So instead, black opts to put up a fight with king to f4, queen to d5, cutting off the escape squares, king to e3. Now again here, if we see king to g4, we have the same sequence. Queen to e5, cutting off the escape squares. Black's only legal move is king to h4, king to f3, and mate will follow. After king to e3 then, putting up more of a fight, we have king to g3, king to e2, queen to d4, cutting off black's escape squares, and this is the mating net that we've seen happen before. King to e1, king to f3, and black has no hope. After black's only legal move, king to f1, white can checkmate in many ways. Queen to f2 is mate, as are queen to d1, queen to a1. So there you have it. If you want to see my simpler method, here it is, because this one does require some foresight to avoid blunders. For example, in this position here, after king to f3, queen to d3 is a blunder that some people could play, leading to a stale mate. Instead of king to f3, queen to d3 here would draw the game, which is very bad for white, who is in a winning position. So to avoid complications such as these, one way I like to do the checkmate, and I call this the knight method. So the first step is to move the queen into a position where she is knight's move away from the king, such as queen to c3. You can see that the queen and the king are the same distance as a knight would be from the king if he were putting the king in check. Then after any move your opponent plays, you simply mirror with your queen. So let's say king to d5, then we'd play queen to b4. As the king played up and to the left, we will play up and to the left. King to c6, queen to a5, and here we see the king's only options are this, and then here. If they play any of these moves, we can simply play the same one. So if they go here trying to confuse us, we can close the net, and then after whatever they play, let's say king to a6, queen to b4, playing the same direction as the enemy king did, keeping that knight's distance away, king to a7, queen to b7, and then watch out, after king to a8, playing queen to b6 would be a blunder, drawing the game. Instead, we leave the king with these two squares here to switch between, and we move our king upwards. So, after king to a8, king to g2, king to a7, king to f3, etc., as the king's as the king moves across the board, and the enemy king can only bounce back and forth until eventually we come in a position where we can checkmate the enemy king. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching to the very end of the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this has helped you understand how to properly checkmate with a king and queen in the endgame. These positions are really crucial as they usually come from you being up a pawn, trading down all of your material, promoting the pawn, and then if you don't know how to convert the material advantage into an actual victory, it'll end up a draw, and all of that hard work will be for nothing. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing, and I'll be with you for the next video.